Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted and privileged to welcome a very accomplished and respected professional from the social sector, a fellow member of the YPO from Zurich, Switzerland, Susanne Schroff. Susanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you that I can be here.
Thank you. Susanne is the president of the SANNI Foundation. And as I mentioned, she's a fellow member of YPO from Zurich. So Susanne, before we talk about the foundation, tell me a little bit about your own journey, and then tell me a little bit about the story behind the founding of the foundation.
Okay. So I was born and grew up in Germany in a, let's say, privileged family. My father was a very accomplished entrepreneur who started from scratch but became a very successful electronics entrepreneur. So I went to school. I did my university in Germany, America, and France. And I always, my parents started very early with two foundations, and I'm very proud of that. One scientific one that works in Germany, and one social one that works also in Germany and all over the world.
Okay.
And and I studied business administration. I took off a family company. That's why I moved to Switzerland. It was an international electronics company. And actually, I'm an entrepreneur. And what my father died pretty early. And in 2002, I went to India for the first time.
Okay.
I visited a project my parents have been supporting, but they've never been to India, actually. It was a project in the south of India with diabetic patients. So doctors went out in the fields and gave the patients the medicine. So I went there the first time. I mean, the head of this project was a Catholic priest, and he showed me what he was doing, and I saw hundreds of patients that wouldn't have been alive if we wouldn't have given the medicine.
Amazing.
And that touched me so much, and you always think it's always like a theoretical thing. You give something and you hope it helps, but there I actually met hundreds of people that wouldn't have been alive. And then I decided I want to do more in this field.
Well said. So now let's come to the SANNI Foundation. Is there a story behind the name, or is it an acronym for something?
Well, actually, SANNI is my nickname. When I was a child, people called me Susie, and I hated that. So I called myself SANNI. And, and with the spelling, it's not SUNNI, it's SANNI. And it could be Indian also, also with our logo, with the sun. Many people think it's an Indian thing.
Fantastic. So tell me then, Susanne, what inspired you to focus on education, poverty alleviation, health, and women's empowerment in South India and Myanmar?
Well, there are so many things that you can do if you want to do good, right? I mean, and everything is important. The environment is important. I mean, there are also, people sometimes say, yeah, but there's also poverty in Switzerland and in Germany. But when I traveled, I think if you don't have enough to eat and you don't get your medicine and no education, that's the worst. And so I personally, I mean, you have to find something that really touches you. And for me, it's extreme poverty, And even if you're born in Europe, nobody needs to die from hunger. Correct. So, I mean, India is like, it's with this Catholic priest, Father Joss, that I met then. When people say you do so many good things, I mean, I'm very happy that I met this person, because he does these things every day. And so are my partners in Myanmar, where the situation is even more difficult now. So with this Father Joss, who is also he's an entrepreneur, right? So with him, we started to take children from poor environments. We sent them to school. I started, but with friends and family, to look for sponsors for the children. So we're talking about 360 euro per year. That's like €1 per day, which is like nothing, especially if you live in Switzerland. So I helped him to find sponsors. And then there was one day we were thinking, and we built a hospital with my family money, like an HIV hospital at that time. And then I remember 2000 and whatever, 15, I went to India and we discussed, we want to do something which is like totally sustainable, which brings in money, so we don't have to do fundraising all the time. And then we were looking for ideas, and it was his idea to build a medical village in Kerala, meaning we built, first of all, a big hospital with like 50 beds with a lot of walk-in patients. They treat 100,000 patients per year now. And it works like this, that the rich ones are supporting the poor. And it's totally sustainable. They don't need any money anymore. So we built this medical village in the south of India with women empowerment projects, with an elderly home, with 3 hospitals now, with 250 employees. And 2 years ago, when I visited Father Joss in South Delhi, I said, if you die and if I die, this will go on, And I'm not connected with the church. I'm not Catholic. But I mean, the good thing about the church, they will take over, If you have a private initiative, you never know what will happen. But so anyway, so this is sustainable. Yeah, and then when it was built in South India, as an entrepreneur, I said to Father Joss, now let's move on. Let's go. You know how it works. Let's do the same in the north of India, right? But he said to me, Susanne, I'm a priest. I need to stay with my people.
Your parish.
So I was looking for other ideas, and I saw some projects in India. But I have to tell you, it's really, some people say it's easier to earn money than to spend it well in this sector. I saw many projects where I thought, no, this is not efficient, and you don't really know what happens to the money. Yeah. And then, when 2012, Myanmar opened its borders, and they had that military regime for 60 years. A friend of mine, he's also a YPOer, Pascal Gerken, he wanted to build a hotel in Myanmar. And I asked him, I said, look, I want to go there. Let me check out the country. And he gave me 3 or 4 social organizations. I visited them all. And again, I was really lucky to have met, it's Dr. Frank and Dr. Nini. They were Doctors Without Borders. They are a couple. She is from Myanmar. He's Dutch. And they started their own foundation. They built same thing, extreme poverty clinics. Then, mostly they do clinics. They have health workers all over the world. And with them, I built a clinic for extreme poverty. And then I told them about that sponsorship program that I do, And we are now sponsoring 500 children also in Myanmar. So I keep the focus on these 2 countries.
Very interesting.
Some people say, why don't you go to Africa? No. I mean, you need to know some things about countries, right? To India, I've been traveling for more than 20 years and I studied at university about, the culture, religion. I studied in Zurich, but still there's so much that I need to learn,
Oh, I'm sure.
Like about the caste system, about so many things. And I think you need to understand the country if you want to work in there.
Correct. So you've told me a little bit about the work you're doing in the area of health. You also do a lot of work with children for education and upbringing.
Yes.
Tell me a little more about this work.
So as an example, I can name you a project we just started in Delhi. That's actually just the 3rd project I do since more than 10 years. And we want to do it for a long time. So it's in the south of Delhi. It's a slum. Actually, we work in 2 slums in the south and a little bit more south of Delhi. So there are people coming in, mostly migrants from West Bengal. They move there. They don't have any papers. they do picking in the garbage. That's how they make money. They have a very hard life. The children are not accepted at school because they don't have papers. You know, the parents, they even don't think that the children are worth going to school. They say they should help us work. So I work there again with priests and social workers. So they have a center, and they motivate the mothers to send their children to school. So we have 150 children that go to the public school. The social workers are our people that look that they're really going to the school. And once a day, the children, they come to the center, they get food and they get tutoring, and also like they get a daily structure. And let's say for 1.5 years, I've been going there now 4 times. And you don't believe what a difference I can tell with these children. They are so confident. They are much cleaner. They are so excited when I'm coming. You know, they practiced, they do some role plays, they do some singing, some dancing with costumes. I mean, the last time I took 15 sponsors from Germany and Switzerland. I mean, they were crying because they were so touched by the joy of these children. You know, they're so poor, but they have so much joy. So the last time I was just there 2 months ago, and I said, let's take them out somewhere. So we gave them all the same T-shirts, and it was the first time they did sightseeing in Delhi. So we went to the Gandhi Memorial. Yeah. We went to the gateway to India, to the museum, to the railroad museum. Oh my God, you should have seen Ashutosh. They were so happy at the end of the day, and that gives me much joy. So we focus on the education, you know, and also now we're watching them. There are some children that are more talented than the others, and then they get higher education. It's always, you know, to their needs. So that's, for example, what we do in Delhi, and education is really important.
Very interesting. So then tell me, you know, you're doing so much work in India and Myanmar. You've told me about all the good things that you're doing. Tell me a little bit about the challenges you have faced in doing work from your foundation in these countries.
I mean, the biggest foundation, the biggest challenge I'm facing over all these years is right now happening in Myanmar. I mean, as you know, there was a military coup 3 years ago. Yeah. And yeah, you know, people are fighting. And it's a cruel situation, you know. And, you know, I also know YPOs, by the way. I just had 35 of them. I just met them in Italy when they did their chapter retreat, which I think is okay. They also want to enjoy life, you know. They're successful people that are helping a lot, but the people that are suffering the most are always the poorest, you know. And I don't know if I should go into so much detail, but the war is just not ending and getting worse and worse. And that's the biggest challenge.
I agree. Well said. So let me now ask you my next question. There is always a lot of cultural sensitivity that is involved when you're working in not just different countries, but even different parts of India. How do you tackle the different cultures in different parts of the country?
Well, I always think it's important to listen to the people there, and even the culture is different. But the people that you can trust, and for me in India, this is Father Joss, you know. And without him, and also a woman that's working with him that I know for a long time, I take them everywhere. So I know he's a different culture than the people in Delhi, but he manages much better, you know. We have people from the south working in Delhi, and then they work with people from Delhi. So I think you have to be sensitive to you know, also the different culture. I mean, you know, of course, I'm giving the money. So some people would say yes to all the ideas I would have, right? But not do what I think is correct, listen what they think is correct. And we don't understand what people need, you know? And people from Europe especially, they tend to think they know everything better. And it's not the aim to make a Europe out of these countries, right? Correct. And this we really have to understand this. And probably people from America have the same thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen what they need, you know?
So I also wanted to ask you, you mentioned that you are funding most of it yourself, but as a foundation, do you also look at raising money from other sources?
Yes.
And if so, what do you do?
In Switzerland, actually, I'm not funding most of myself. I have the most I fund almost, let's say 90% through donors. What I do, I pay all the administration costs for the foundation. It used to be my company that I sold 2017. I funded everything through that. But since I stopped that, I have an investment company, and with this company, I cover all the administration costs. What I do for fundraising, and we've been, first of all, I started my foundation in Switzerland because I'm a Swiss residency. I did it for my own money, but also when I started, people asked me, so what do you do? Can we also give something? And I've the belief, and it's shown right, if people know the money is well spent, they give you money. Absolutely. You know? And I don't do fundraising galas or something. We have most of the money I get through other foundations. They're big foundations, and they give us for many, many years. So it's really, I run the foundation as a business. I have a budget, and I say, for example, the hospital in Myanmar is 250,000. I have 3 foundations that are 100% funding this hospital, and they do it, let's say, for 7 or 8 years in a row, and I'm very proud of that. So I go to the foundations, and they even say, thank you, Susanne, that you're going to Myanmar. Nobody else wants to go there now, you know? And I go there, I look if the project is working, I look at the books there, and I work mostly with foundations. We have some other fun things that we do that are really fun. Like we just had a fashion sale some month ago where I collect fashion from shops or from women branded clothes, and we sold them in Zurich over 3 days. It was a really social thing. It was a lot of fun. It's important for me also to have fun with these things,
absolutely,
you know.
Absolutely.
And people know that, you know. Yeah. So we had that event. I had a lot of voluntary workers, but still, just believe me, it was a lot of work, you know. And we made 93,000 Swiss francs, which is like 93,000 euros, like the same, which is a lot of money,
absolutely.
You know. Absolutely. And you know, but I also do these events to get that people talk about me, you know, that I get some press coverage, and you know, people come by, they ask, what is SANNI Foundation? We got a lot of new sponsors for children at these events. And then in the summer we have, which is also fun, like a SANNI run. We run around a little lake. It's really easy. You pay something to run. You can choose if you want to do 10 or 21 kilometers. You run, we give a prize, we have a lunch. It's a fun thing, you know, where friends and family come, and also some new people. It's important for us to have fun. Also, when I take the people to watch the projects, you know.
Interesting.
Even if you do good, you can also stay in nice hotels.
Oh, absolutely,
like
absolutely, you know? Absolutely. So
if you pay,
I have time for 2 more questions for you. For my viewers and listeners, can you share 1 or 2 interesting stories of individuals or families who have benefited from the SANNI Foundation?
So the highlight of our trip to India in November last year, when I came with 15 sponsors, were like 2 weddings in Kerala. So there were 4 children that went to our orphanage, and the orphanage is for mostly HIV infected children. And these children mostly don't have any parents, and nobody was taking care of them because, 20 years ago, there was a big stigma against HIV, which now hopefully it's going down. Since 2 years, by the way, only since 2 years, our HIV infected children can go to public schools. Before, they could only go to our own school, So we had 2 weddings of these 4 children. I mean, they're not children anymore. And they got married. One was a love marriage. They were quite young, but Father Joss said, what can I do? If they want to get married, let's rather get them married, The other one was arranged marriage, which, as you know, is very usual in India.
Yeah.
So there was the wedding. It went on, in our big church. There's a big church that the church built, not me. And, the head of, and they were both Catholic. And by the way, we treat all the religions the same. That it's essential for me. If there's somebody Muslim, they can have a Muslim wedding and they practice their belief. The same with Hindus, But they happened to be Catholic, and the marriage was conducted by the cardinal, which is a really high thing in the church. And he did the wedding maybe because we were visiting, It was like a big wedding, And and you know what? It was so touching. First of all, I was thinking, these children probably, or these people wouldn't be alive without Father John and me, right? They would have died. If they don't get proper medicine, they die. But if they get the proper medicine, they can survive, and they are happy now. We even have like 5 children from children that we raised up that are born totally healthy. HIV people can have healthy children. They get a medicine and they have healthy children. And to see that's really the rewarding thing.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Can I share one more story?
Yeah, certainly, please.
There's one. There is one girl. Manish, I think is her name. Well, anyway, she was in Calcutta, which is at the other part of India. She was in a station, I think a 4-year-old girl running around and begging alone. So the police caught her, they took her to prison, and they tested her for HIV. They saw that she was HIV positive, and they brought her to our home, to Father Joss. So you have to imagine that child, totally traumatized, doesn't speak the language, sits there, totally traumatized. And now she is the biggest, she speaks the language Malayalam fluently. She is the most alive, happy girl. She is like the front singer and dancer when we come there,
Wow.
And this is really a lot of joy. But having said that, Astush, we should never forget these children, they went through a trauma.
Absolutely.
So they tried to give her psychotherapy and she said, I don't want to remember. She refuses to speak her mother tongue. She is just putting all the things aside. It's still, we always think these children are poor, give them food and education, but that's not it. They also, or if they're HIV infected, they think I'm different, they're afraid and all these things. So there's a lot of sensitive work involved that we should not forget.
Very interesting. And my last question to you, Susanne.
Okay.
Given all the wonderful work that you are doing, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Oh, wow. The legacy. What my mission still is like, when we are in such I'm so grateful where I'm born and where I live, you know, and I don't take that for granted. You know, if I would have born in the slum in Delhi as a young woman, you know, getting married with, I don't know, with 14, 15, having 3 children in that dusty environment, need to struggle every day. I mean, what I would like to do, make more people aware that helping makes also myself happy. You know, with all the things that are going on in the world. I mean, if you watch the TV with all these wars, about Myanmar, nobody even speaks anymore. You know, it's totally forgotten. But when people say, "Oh my God, the state of the world," I always say, "Look, but I help the people that I can help. I cannot do something, not do more for the state of the world." And every person I help is something that helps the person and also makes me happy. And that's what I try to teach.
How wonderful. So then on that note, thank you so much for speaking to me about your journey. Thank you for speaking to me about the SANNI Foundation and for all the amazing work that you're doing in India and Myanmar. Thank you again and good luck.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.